I'm coming more from a background of a, first of all, clinician. I have more than 35 years of studying and practice, but I'm very much a clinician. So I like to look at things from a clinician eyes. You know, people are coming to us with problems, and either body, mind, or spirit, and mixed. And for a clinician, I think the most important thing, it will sound strange, but it's to feel comfortable. Normally we don't feel so comfortable, you know, unless we feel we have a good diagnosis and a good approach and a good understanding of the patient. So a lot of this lecture will take us into a less usual way of thinking about Chinese medicine or understanding. And I believe you will catch it, and I believe it will change the way you practice. I know it's a big word, but if not, write to me, you know, your money back. So I'm just saying, you know, listen to it from like a different angle. And I mean, really change the practice. I mean, some little, because maybe it's what you're doing is close to what we are talking about. For some of you, it will be like a new way to look at life, a new way to understand Chinese medicine. So let's start with like a very simple thing, like close our eyes, count 10, and then open. Okay? And I'll explain why in a minute. But closing the eyes is important. What happened when we closed our eyes is exactly all about what we are going to talk in the lecture. We moved from one space into another, like from the outer world, the more conscious, to inner world. And as humans, especially in the 21st century, we are a lot in the outer world. We have very little consciousness of the inner world, right? So there is the conscious and the unconscious. According to most scientific exploration, they would say 10% of our conscious world is what we see, and 90% lies in the unconscious, in the areas that we don't see. And it's the same when the patient comes, you know, we have the symptoms, so here he will tell you symptoms, but they are coming from somewhere. They are coming from somewhere deep, a deep imbalance, right? Because if there is no imbalance, there is no symptoms. So what we want to find in the clinic is this root or origin of the problem or of the patient. The deeper we can understand the origin, the more we can transform the patient. So if we're looking at the body, mind, spirit, so obviously at the body it's quite simple. You can do a lot of techniques just to alleviate pain or make them better. But if we want to transform, we are moving from the body to the mind, which is somewhere here in between, to the spirit. And this, you will see the model of numbers will all the time follow our presentation. So basically, if I will say, if a patient comes to you here, how far do you want to know their history? Let's say they have stomach pain. Okay? Do you want to know when it started? Maybe this is enough, right? If you want to go deeper, how deep can you go? Let's go into their childhood. Right? That's very deep. So you want to know from childhood to now how this pain is developed in them, why they develop this imbalance. Can we go further? than childhood? Where? Huh? Maybe birth. Right? So they suddenly appear in the world. This little baby appears in the world. Maybe we go even before birth. Yeah? It's possible that the problem starts before birth. So we want to go into prenatal time. Maybe we want to go to conception. Maybe we want to go even before conceptions to the family lineage. Family lineage, like the things that are running in the family. We know genetic or epigenetic. Maybe we want to go even further into human suffering. So it's all about how much we want to see. And this is what we see. We want to see little, we see little. Want to see a bit more, you see a little bit more. You want to see? And we will see that Chinese medicine allows us an amazing freedom and understanding of how things are created, how life is created. And more even interestingly, how life is ending. Because it's the wider we have the perspective, the better we can understand life, the better we can understand the patient, the better we can understand human and the planet. But it's all up to us, how much we want to broaden our horizon. And interestingly enough, in acupuncture, we can use the same point for the body, for the mind, and for the spirit, and even deeper. Or we can change a little bit our strategy. But it all depends on how we want to go deep and further. So the lecture about both the Hun and the Po, it's part of this moving from the postnatal existence to prenatal into origin. And when the spirit arrives, this is the Hun and this is the Po. So when the spirit arrived to the world, this is classical, it gets two assistants. It gets two assistants. So the Shen, when it arrives, it gets two assistants for it to be expressed in a human form or in an earthly existence. Shen, and that's the key thing, comes from a place which has no time and no form. That's why as human we feel a bit uncomfortable. We feel that part of us doesn't belong here and part of us belong here. This is exactly Hun and Po. As you will see in a minute, this deep feeling of this strangeness, a cat is a cat is a cat. It's happy to be a cat. Fish is happy to be a fish. Humans, we are always unhappy. We are always imbalanced. We come to the world in balance and we are seeking to some inner balance and we never understand what's bothering us. I think that's very common. Maybe there's few very spiritual people here who have some inner peace. But most of us, and we can't figure out why. So in a way, this lecture is going to this origin of this imbalance as human. Because as the Shen arrive, it gets these two assistants. And if you look, both of them has this structure of Gui to it. And all this is happening before heaven, or prenatal. By the way, this is also how the universe was created. So there's different stories which are out of the medical books that are talking about the creation of the universe. Very similar to Genesis. First there was light and darkness. The light things went up and the dark things went down. So there was something that had no time and space and came to here and got this number 2 of yin and yang. So if we're looking at the spirit gets these two assistants, Hun and Po. And to me, this is like, okay, here the magic starts. Here the unseen is starting. In everyone, right? And the more we can understand this trial, because we are moving from 1 to 2 to 3. Right? We moved from Shen to Hun and Po, and now Shen, Hun and Po. The numbers in Chinese medicine are very interesting. Always. Chinese medicine is based on numbers. And all the time is counting and counting. So you can see that something before heaven is happening from There's one that gets 2 assistants, and then there is 3 influences on the post-heaven life. So birth is to do about these 3, and also death. And there is ancient quotes and pictures, etc., to explain us this process. The ancient Chinese, or whoever brought this knowledge, had a bigger picture than we had. Right? We are on the small picture, we are trying to understand what's going on here. It seems that they had the picture because everything follows the same logic. And to me, this is one of the most interesting things, is to follow this logic. And if you read about the Hun and Po, you will see that the Po has 7 parts and it follows the Jing. So immediately Po is connected to Yin and to the Jing. And as I say, in the lecture on the Po, we talk a lot about this connection to the Jing. So it's a very personalized part. The Hun and Po are already personalized. So at the prenatal life, at the formation of the body, because the Po is to do with form, it's to do obviously with the metal later, the lung and the skin and our formation and our instincts. And it's to do with our Jing. And our Jing is our personal thing. So Hun and Po is already the beginning of the personalized form on earth. And you will see a lot of instincts, a lot of lung problems that are originating in prenatal life, skin problems, And so this is, except for the introducing the Po. And Po is to do with the life, the beginning of life, the formation of life, and then later when we die, according to this tradition, the Po will follow the bones. So when there is a burial place, the Po will be there. The Hun will go somewhere else. The Hun is a different story. The Hun follows the Shen. So the Hun is young and it follows the Shen. And that's the story we are exploring now. And all this is happening before birth. The Hun, by the way, is entering near or after birth. That's why it's interesting in Japan. I don't know if you've been there. They have a lot of this burial places for fetus who died before birth. So they bury them and they put a stone without face. So there's a lot of these burial places for fetus. Because the Hun hasn't arrived. And the Hun is to do with eyes and the Hun is to do with our personal expression. So when they die before the Hun arrive, it's more like a Po issue. So we have the prenatal life starting here. And as you can see, both characters have the character Gui, and later Dominique will come and also will talk about it. I've kind of added to it colors, so suddenly you see that the same logic all the time follows, okay? So we have fire and water, we have material and energy all the time mixing. So you can see the Shen and Jing are connected. And if you look further, the Hun relates to the wood and the Po to metal. So you see all this arrangement, it's called pre-heaven arrangement, it's there. Later it comes to earth. So we have the earth added in. So all the pre-heaven arrangement already exists before birth. That's why postnatal life are very much to do with the earth. So it's like all the time we are looking at it and we are finding the same logic. And I say, okay, what does it mean even in the clinic? So when we want to go into this prenatal space, and for me it's a clinical reality, we can treat prenatal. Once we identify that the root of the disease or the root of the imbalance is prenatal, we use the same logic. Our consciousness looks at the root. Usually I will use less needles, even sometimes one needle, that's my favorite, or 2 or 3 needles, and direct the treatment into the prenatal time. Again, it all depends on our consciousness. If we want to be conscious about prenatal, we can treat it. If we don't want, we don't treat it. If we want to be conscious about yesterday, we're conscious about yesterday. So it all depends how we unfold the case. To me, I love always the clinic, just bring me a case, you will see how we're slowly unfolding it into a very deep pain, usually, deep trauma. And when we treat this, the patient transforms, and also his main symptoms are either gone, getting better, and obviously we can also treat some symptomatic, but to me this is the later effect. You know, in Chinese medicine there is the superior doctor and there is the more common doctors. So they treat symptoms. Superior always tries to treat the origin. So it's already mentioned that you can do whatever you want in Chinese medicine, but you have to decide what level you want to be focused on as a physician. So I just gave an example, like on the heart meridian, you would look at points like heart 7, Shen Men, you know, the door of Shen suddenly appears on heart 7, on heart 4, Ling Dao. So you see the combination of Shen and Ling. Later I'll tell you, I've actually been compiling a book about Shen points and heaven points. So later we can talk a little bit about it. Or on the lung, we can use points like windows of heaven, lung 3, which has effect on this dynamic of Hun and Po. We'll talk on some of these points later. Or maybe on the kidney, the upper kidney points. You know, kidney 24 is a possibility. Kidney 23, you know, all of them have the names of Shen and Ling in them. So it all depends where we want to focus. Kidney 24 will have the name Ling. Ling has kind of slightly different aspect to the Shen. It's more yin aspect in Broadway. So it will be Ling Shu, the spirit burial ground. So you see, as we go up on the kidney meridian, we are reaching points or transformation of water, the kidney to fire. And we are going deeper into the root of this transformation. If we'll go into the liver, I picked liver 14, which is the gate of hope, the last point on the meridians. You know, again, which touches on this deep aspect of the liver to be open to hope. And the reason the liver is open to hope and to bigger understanding, because its root is Hun. And the Hun follows the Shen. Did I lose anyone? Okay. Yeah? So you can see how this logic starts to follow and how organs can be expressed on the body level, mind, and on the spirit level.